My passion. I'm author of two books also. It's a coincidence. My first book is Quantum Project Management, and I'm here in Quantum University. So it's lovely. And my first research paper also, that's on quantum consciousness, and I'm in Quantum University. Yeah, so it's very. So before starting, so why we are here? So objective of this presentation is to bridge the two knowledge systems. The two knowledge systems, the first is modern psychology, the clinical psychology, and the second knowledge system is coming out from the Indian knowledge system, that is the Vedic astrology here. So my plan is to propose an integrative framework for understanding the mental health. So I'm just outlining the flow of thoughts. So how the thought is flowing in this little presentation. So it's all like a awareness exercise, because astrology as well as the clinical psychology is a very deep subject. So you cannot wrap up, you cannot master in 15 minutes or 10 minutes. So it's like I'm just giving you awareness so that you have any questions, then you can come. So starting with the astrological symbolism, so it explores how planetary symbolism can correspond to the psychological archetypes. So first starting with the symbolism, then I will touch upon the collaborative efforts, how both the systems, the IKs in this case, Vedic astrology, and the clinical psychology that jointly inform the preventive and the therapeutic approaches to the mental well-being. And then I will try to align both the system, check the alignment, so aligning the scientific understanding with the ancient metaphysical wisdoms. And then in the end, I'll go for and give the conclusion about the holistic approach and highlight how the fusion of these two can lead to a more holistic conception of the mental well-being. So that's my plan. So let's come. First of all, start with the definition, the real definition accepted by the whole world. So I'm quoting here WHO report on the Comprehensive Mental Health Action Plan 2013-2030 in Geneva. So they have given, WHO has given the definition, the basic definition about the mental health that is closely linked with the mental well-being. So according to WHO, mental health is a state of well-being in which the individual realizes their own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of the life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to contribute to the community. So this is the basic definition accepted by the whole world, given by the WHO. WHO in the same report they set up the parameters. So if you are checking the mental health sort of thing, mental well-being, then the first parameter is the emotional balance. Emotional balance is for checking the ability to manage emotions like stress, sadness, joy, anger. And the second parameter is the resilience. This is the capacity to recover from the setbacks and adopt changes. And the third parameter WHO set up, that the cognitive clarity. So cognitive clarity is all about the clear thinking, sound judgment, and the focus of an individual. And then fourth parameter WHO set out when you are checking the mental health, that is the fourth key aspect, positive relationships, so maintaining empathy, trust, and social connectedness. And in the end, in that report, the fifth parameter for the mental health set out by WHO is the purpose and the fulfillment. So having goals, meaning, and satisfaction in the life. It's very similar to the Maslow pyramid. I don't know how many people knows about the Maslow pyramid, but the idea remains same. But the question is why we are discussing here. What is the need of the hour? What is the pinpoint? So if I take you to one report published by Institute of Health Metrics and Evolution in 2021, the global burden of disease data. So that report is very alarming. That report is saying 1 in every people in the world lives with a mental disorder. This is a big problem. So every 8 people around us, they have some sort of mental disorder according to this report. So it means it's a really alarming, so we have to look into this. But that's why there is an urgent need for multidimensional approaches that go beyond the biochemical and the behavioral paradigm. So now it's quite clear this is the need of hour to check upon where IKS, where Vedic astrology can help us. So I'm taking you to the historical context, a lot of discussion starting from the Bhakti Yoga, then the Ayurveda, and now astrology will come and help you because astrology is one of the Vedanta, and I'm proud to be part of the research scholar from the Bharati Vidya Bhavan, Jyotisacharya, as well as engineer also. And so just this astrology and this approach is not new. From the ancient time, from the ages, astrology plays a significant role in medical practices, particularly in the civilization, because astrology is not belongs to us only. In every civilization, astrology is there. I published one paper, published in Federation of Astrological Research in Australia. In detail, I gave how the other civilizations treat astrology. So in every civilization, in Chinese civilization, in Greek civilization, Rome civilization, everywhere you can find astrology. So I'm talking about as a whole. So in every civilization, astrology is connected with the medical practices. And it's very high time to quote Greek physician Hippocrates, who often called as the father of medicine. He famously said, and always quoting this statement, a physician without knowledge of astrology has no right to call himself a physician. It's a very big statement, very, very big statement. And you know how Carl Jung is playing with astrological charts when patients are coming. So how integration is not new thing, but this is the need of the hour. So physicians use astrological charts to determine the best time for treatment and to diagnose emotional imbalances. So in the disease, basically two parts. First part is diagnosis. So you have to understand, you have to identify the disease. And the second part is the treatment. So in the first part, astrology can help. Like beforehand, through the chart, through the planetary combination, you can know after 20 years, after 15 years, something can happen. So this individual might be, prone to the some mental illness. In this manner, in diagnosis, astrology can help. So let's come in our astrology, the Vedic astrology and the mental health. So Vedic astrology offers its ancient wisdom and the cosmic sides that strongly suggest a deep connection with the mental health and the emotional well-being. That is the guarantee, that is support is coming from the Shastras. And in all of the Shastras, starting from the 8th Pravartakas, Mahasi Parasar, 2005 years ago, when he wrote the Brihad Parasara Shastra, no specific word is there for the mental health. But if you go through and synthesize and analyze the words, you can find the traces over there. So we came up with a definition of the mental well-being, how astrology is treating the mental well-being. Mental well-being is a state of balance where the mind, the moon, intellect, Mercury, and wisdom, Jupiter, function harmoniously. I know it's a very technical because you need to have some understanding of the astrology. But in our Shastra, like moon is connected with the mind and Mercury is connected with the buddhi, intellect, and Jupiter is connected with the wisdom, Gyan. So if they play in a harmony, then you find the individual is a mentally very sound and vice versa. So like World Health Organization, they set out parameters for the mental well-being. Astrologically, we got some astrological signatures, we got some astrological parameters to check the mental health. So first parameter we set out, that's our research, so the self-identity and the clarity of thought, first one. So the strength of the Lagna, the first house and the fifth house, That is the realize their own potential. In this case, if that is strong, then native individual realize his own potential. That's very important to having a sound mind. And you know, sound mind lives in sound body also, so all well connected. Now the emotional resilience. So that is coming from the stability of the moon. That is required for the coping up the normal stresses of the life. And then the third parameter I'm just putting forward here, that's the cognitive clarity and the wise decision. That is coming from the support of Mercury, that is the logic, and the Jupiter, that's mature wisdom. Fourth parameter is for mental health, positive relationship and the social responsibilities. So that is coming from the balance of Saturn and Mars working in harmony in the 1-7 axis. When I'm talking about the 1-7 axis, that is the self versus others. And the benefic yogas like Gajkesari or Chandradi yogas without affliction. And the fifth astrological signature for mental health is work productively and fruitfully. That is coming from the balance of Saturn and Mars without affliction. Now, the mental health, clinical psychology and the Vedic astrology. So one side we have clinical science, psychology that focus on the neurochemical and the psychological factors. And on the other hand, we have Indian knowledge system that is giving us that ancient Indian thought, giving us the Vedic astrology that can offer complementary and holistic perspective on human consciousness and the mental equilibrium. So now talking about the solution, the holistic solution. Holistic solution is lies in the astrological psychology. So only clinical psychology or the Vedic psychology can the complementing each other. So the astrological psychology we are putting forward, that is the need of the hours, and this is the holistic approach. So astrological psychology offers a structured, nuanced approach to understanding the human mind. At its core, it examines how the planetary movements and positions as seen in one's birth chart, the natal chart, influence personality traits, emotional responses, mental health patterns, and the behavioral tendencies that astrological psychology can offer. So each planet represents different aspect of the psyche, and its placement in a natal chart reveals a specific emotional strength and the vulnerabilities. So the role of the planet, I'm picking here, the role of the planets in the mental wellness. So starting with the moon, we know like moon is the mind. Chandrama Manasa Jata, so moon is the mind of the Kala Purus. So for the moon, it's a mind, emotion, attachment and the mental stability. And then Mercury, that is the intellect, logic and reasoning, nervous system. And the third planet, very important one for the mental well-being when you are assessing, that's the Jupiter. It's all about the wisdom, maturity, higher guidance. So when these planets are strong and well placed in the chart, you can find individual is a sound mind, reasoning and wisdom. And opposite is also true. When they are afflicted, then individual is prone to having mental illness, confusion and the poor judgment. So after planets, yogas are also very important in the chart when you are assessing, checking the mental wellness for any individual. So I'm just displaying 3 yoga as a sample. There are so many. So Kemdrum yoga, when you find the moon alone, there are no planets on the other side, on the both the sides. So it's a very bad yoga for the mental stability. And the good yoga is coming like a Gajkesari when Jupiter is in Kendra from the moon. And another benefic yoga is the Chandradi yoga for the mental health, when the benefic is sitting in the 6th, 7th and 8th from the moon. So these yogas strongly influence the mental stability and the strength. Now I'm talking about very briefly these sensitive houses in the mental well-being. So starting with the 5th house, we know there are 12 houses in the chart. So 5th house is all about the fascination, thinking, logic and wisdom. So 5th house and 5th lord And then Lagna and the Aries sign, Mesh Rasi, because Lagna is the head of the native, we are assessing, and then Mesh Rasi is the head of the Kalpurus. So both must be unafflicted and under benefic influence. So that's the approach. So how we will go, very, very superficial we are going, because it's very technical. So I'm just coming with the two cases, depression and anxiety in this case. So if talk about the depression, then again going back to the WHO, how WHO is thinking about the depression, because depression and anxiety is very, very common. And our first research in Bharati Vidya Bhavan about the depression and anxiety only. So WHO is saying depression is a common mental disorder. It is characterized by the persistent sadness and a lack of interest or pleasure in previously rewarding or enjoyable activities. It can also disturb sleep and appetite, tiredness and poor concentrations are common. That definition is from WHO fact sheet on depression 2023. Then again APA is coming and giving more inside definition, just adding the timeline about the depression. So American Psychiatrist Association APA defines major depressive disorder as involving at least 2 weeks of the depressed mood. So 2 weeks, if one person is continuously sad for 2 weeks, so 2 weeks of depressed mood or loss of interest or pleasure accompanied by other symptoms like changes in the sleep pattern or appetite, concentration, energy, feeling of guilt or even suicidal tendencies. So this is the depression. It's a very, very common. That's why the report is saying every 8th person is under any mental disorder. So that's the case. So how astrologically we understand from the chart, how astrology help us. So astrological signature we can find in the chart. In case of the depression, moon fails to provide the stability to the mind in this case, and Mercury loses rational clarity, and Jupiter in this case cannot guide wisdom. So in this case, these planet is throwing native in a condition of the depression. So through chart itself we can know. Now talking about the second condition, second case, anxiety. So WHO is talking about anxiety, defining anxiety as anxiety disorders are characterized by excessive fear and worry and related behavioral disturbances. Symptoms are severe enough to result in significant distress or significant impairment in functioning. So that definition, whole world is accepting, the clinical side of the world is accepting that word because that is coming from the WHO fact sheet on anxiety. So how astrological we can understand through the chart anxiety. So in this case, moon is overstimulated, Mercury overthinks under the affliction, and Mars and Saturn are coming, these malefic planets are coming into the play in case of the anxiety. We remember like in case of the depression, they are not playing. So here Mars and Saturn trigger excessive fear of nervous tension and putting native in a condition of anxiety. So the clinical and the astrological, the clinical definition and the astrological equivalence I will give you here for these two conditions. So in case of depression, we just saw, depression, the clinical definition is a common mental disorder marked by persistent sadness, loss of interest, low energy, poor concentration, disturbed sleep or appetite, feeling of worthlessness, sometimes suicidal thought. That is from the WHO and APA. Now astrologically, the astrological equivalence we are giving here from our research. An afflicted moon, emotion, Mercury clarity, and Jupiter hope or wisdom, often linked to the weak, afflicted Lagna or fifth house and yoga like Yam Druma, that results in emotional heaviness and loss of motivation and pessimism. So this is the depression. Now the anxiety condition. So anxiety, the clinical definition is a mental health condition characterized by excessive worry, fear, restlessness, racing thoughts, physical tension, and avoidance behavior. Astrological equivalence we can provide here. This is coming from the overstimulation of the moon, mind, Mercury, nervous system, and often under the malefic influence of Mars, Saturn, Rahu, imbalance in the 1-7 axis or the fifth house that creates nervous agitation, instability, and overthinking, and also absence of the stabilizing yogas like Gajkesari that damage also, more damage and worse in the anxiety. So mental wellness, astrologically, how we will get into that. So it's a holistic approach. So there are 3 parameters like strength of the moon, Mercury and Jupiter, then work with the planets. And then condition of the Lagna and the 5th house and its Lord also, so work with the Bhav, and then yogas affecting the moon, the Chandra yogas. So a holistic view is necessary, blending planets, houses and yoga, then you can paint a mental pattern, the mental scheme, the pattern of any native astrologically. And now conclusion. So here, by drawing the parallels between the psychological definitions of disorder and astrological indicators of vulnerability, it creates a holistic model for the mental wellness. Because such model not only enhance our ability to diagnose risk and prevent imbalances, but also offers complementary perspective for fostering emotional balance and cognitive clarity and resilience. Because in the beginning I said dividing the treatment, the whole this disorder in 2 parts, so how they are complementing each other, because in the diagnosis astrological helpers, so Carl Jung, he did a lot of case studies when patients are coming to him, he is taking his birth details and creating the natal chart and try to understand through that area also, and then giving a proper treatment clinically. So this integration Carl Jung did very, in past also. So that's why they are complementing each other from ages. And this is also need of the hours. So we believe in a world where mental health challenges are on rise, this integrated approach invites a more comprehensive exploration of the human mind, uniting modern science with the ancient wisdom. So this is the need of the hour, and that's our belief also. So thank you very much. Any questions? No questions? Because I understand this astrology is that you have to go like more deep and psychology also, then you can. It's like Avengers. Yeah. Thank you very much.